Let's talk brush pile fishing, and I'm not talking about with the 6-inch robo worm. Ditch that thing and get yourself a 4-inch drop worm by Great Lakes Finesse. We all know if you ain't scoping, you hoping. That's kind of the motto my boat fishes by. All right, guys, brush pile fishing. We all have to do it at some point in our life. There's just becomes a point where you get to a tournament and brush piles are the key. That's where they are living. If those fish won't come out of brush to eat a spook, to eat a jerkbait, or even if you're strolling a minnow past them, sometimes you have to go into the brush, knock a bait around in there a little to get those fish to react or eat. The way I like to do that isn't with a shaky head. It's actually with a drop shot. I prefer a Texas rig drop shot. It's almost always in a morning dawn color. I used to always do that with a robo worm. But the problem with a robo worm is the darn thing gets torn up, and then the bait kind of, when the nose gets torn up, the bait slides down the shank of the hook way too easy. And then you start getting snagged, or then you're always reeling in a bait that spirals on the way back to the boat and your line gets all twisted. And before the end of the day, you're just so frustrated with your drop shot rod, you're no longer throwing that into the brush piles. So you go from brush to brush to brush, 40, 50, 60 brush piles in a day. And before you know it, you've run out of brush where those fish aren't eating your spook or aren't eating your minnow. And all of a sudden the day is gone and you're only weighing in 3 fish. So get yourself the right worm. And for me, again, that's the drop worm from Great Lakes Finesse, and I like it for a couple of reasons. All right, it does a very, very good job of displacing water, and that's because the drop worm has a very, very flat bottom. So when you pull that bait into the brush pile and your tungsten weight kind of gets hung on a limb and you start shaking that worm around, this flat bottom will displace and move a lot of water. And that tends to move those fish that are hung in the brush that will not leave, move them up to the limb that your bait is on and get them to look at it. And usually if a bait sits right in front of a fish's face, he's not going to say no. He feels safe in that brush pile. He has no trouble just kind of sucking it in and taking that bait. They like an easy meal when they're living tight to the brush. Again, you could do that with a shaky head, but for me, I really like the action of a drop shot. I think it is the way to go whenever I'm in a brush pile. Now, something else I want to note about this entire system. It isn't just the worm that's important, and again, I have it Texas rigged on a 1/0 long shank drop shot hook, but the rod can be just as important too. And what you want in a drop shot rod for brush pile fishing is a rod that is first and foremost long. Because when you initially pull that fish, you want to move him out away from those limbs. I love the length of the 7'4" medium light CX rod from Great Lakes Finesse. This rod helps give me leverage to move that fish out away from that cover. But then, even more importantly, this rod has the perfect tip action for me to tell the difference between, is that a limb kind of tugging at my bait or even my drop shot weight, or is that a fish kind of pulling against it? This tip has the right amount of flexion and sensitivity, which is a tough balance to find in a long drop shot rod with power. All right, so you get the length, you get the appropriate amount of power, you get the really good bite detection from the right action tip. You also get the right bite detection out of this awesome handle. I don't know if this handle is completely hollow, but it transmits bites from the bait down through the rod blank and into my hand so well with this stinking hollow handle that I always can tell the difference between grass, a stick, a rock, or any type of the lightest bites out there. So get yourself the correct rod when you're brush pile fishing. Don't use a little 6'10" sissy stick. 7'4" medium light in the CX series from GLF is definitely going to help you get those fish out of the bushes more often and put more in the boat at the end of the day. And that's ultimately why we're doing this. We want to land every bite that we get. All right, so brush pile fishing isn't just about the bait, even though I'm convinced GLF has the best bait. And by the way, I hope you guys can see it in this lighting. This stinking Morning Dawn color is absolutely awesome. The website, everywhere I've seen it, the pictures do not do it justice. When this thing is in the water, it is an absolutely primo Morning Dawn color. It, to me, is more natural and fits its environment better than any other Morning Dawn I've ever used from any company and any bait. This is the way to go. So don't sleep on GLF. You guys are welcome to use my code OuterRealm15. It'll save you 15% at lurenet.com. But I really think that this whole system, guys, this is going to help you convert more bites and get more fish in the boat this summer when you're fishing your brush piles. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys out on the water. We got him. Oh, and it's a dandy.
I'm Joe LaBarbera, and welcome to the Outer Realm.